have them come in, introduce yourself, and then who's going to read the opening statement? You will?
You read the opening statement, I'll read at the end.
This here is what you want me to read?
Yes. And then I'll read the end.
Okay.
And not close it. We won't close
Okay.
it.
All right, gentlemen, we're live on the air. For our 11 o'clock agenda, we have a public hearing on the Agricultural Land Preservation District applications. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. We'll make a statement on that shortly, how they participate. The procedure is followed. We'll have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. We'll make a statement on how that will be done. Each speaker, which will also determine how that will be done. After everyone who wishes to speak, the commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of this proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliver at a later date.
Let me take
Okay.
We're taking citizen comment or concerns on the matter. They may be submitted to the county clerk at khart@washco-md.net or by phone at calling 240-313-2204 no later than Monday, May 10th by 4 p.m. for consideration on this public hearing matter.
All right, Mr. Boggs, would you please introduce yourself in the matter?
Chris Boggs, Land Preservation Planner. This is for the 2021 Agricultural Land Preservation District applications. Each year, landowners in the county who own agricultural land have the opportunity to apply to be in a county agricultural land preservation district. The ag districts, as they're called for short, basically allow farm owners to receive tax credits on their property taxes, their county property taxes, as long as they agree in a recorded document with the county that they will not develop the parcel for a period of 10 years. So we have 4 landowners this year who applied, and they all qualified based on our parameters, which it means they have to have at least 50 acres or at least 20 acres if they're right next to another form of preservation. They have to have at least 50% class 1, 2, and 3 soils, and they must be outside of areas programmed for public water and sewer. These properties fit that bill, and the Agricultural Land Preservation Board approved the applications back in February. In exchange for the agreement, landowners receive tax credits in the form of taxes not received, or taxes not paid, on all of their agricultural land, any agricultural buildings, and up to $711 on their dwelling. It has capped at $711, or it cannot exceed the ag component. So if the agricultural land and ag buildings are lesser than $711, they pay the lower amount. The cost this year for the tax credit program is estimated to be about $5,045 per year. That is taxes not collected by the county, and this will cover a total of 420.42 acres on these 4 ag districts. Any questions?
So only 4 applied, right?
Only 4 applied this year.
Could 8
yeah.
have applied if they wanted?
Yeah, we've had years where we've had 15 applicants. We've had years where we haven't had 1. So it really, I'm not sure what affects it. I don't know if it's random or if there are changes in the market sometimes. I know last year, I believe we had 12 that applied and that got into the program. Maybe there was a group of people that were interested last year and these 4 forgot to go into it last year. And so really I have not seen over the years any rhyme or reason to the amount that apply. It's all over the board sometimes. So, you know, you open it up and, you know.
So the benefit to the applicant if he qualifies is, well, the benefit somebody benefits from not being able to develop for 10 years,
Right.
and he gets a little bit of, he or she
Tax
gets a little bit of
credit.
tax credit.
Yep, and also, just to add to that, in order to apply for a Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program easement, you have to be in an ag district.
Right.
You can't apply for that program in Washington County unless you are already in an ag district. So it's kind of a stepping stone for other land preservation opportunities.
Chris, is there a ceiling as to how many acres we would accept in a given year, or is it based on
No,
just those applicants that
as
qualify?
long as long as the properties qualify, the ag board will go through and approve them. So it really doesn't. There's not a limit.
Okay.
At least there isn't one yet.
Commissioners, any other comments? I believe as previously explained, we'll leave comment public hearing up for one more week as previously explained, and,
So will I be back on next week?
yes,
To
I think
follow
that's how
up? Okay.
we'll bring it back next week. For the moment, public hearing has concluded, till next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, would you ask Sarah to come in, please?
Okay. My question would be to the commissioners. We have a 11:30 fiscal year with Sarah. We're early. Would you want to go into closed session and take care of some business and come back at 11:30 for Sarah, or you want to proceed with Sarah early?
I don't know why we just don't move ahead.
Okay, either way, it's moving ahead, however you want to do it. Want to move ahead with Sarah? That's,
If she's ready.
okay. I'm just, my only concern is why I'm asking is we're at 11:30, people could be watching, but they can always review if you're listening. Okay, so Sarah, you're up. Please introduce yourself to matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer. I'm here to present to you updated versions of the budget. Before I do just want to announce I have limited information because the bond sale was just held at 11 o'clock and I was not present upstairs, but I have been informed that the interest rate that we received was about 1.6%, which is a very good interest rate. Last year, it was about 1.9%. So we did better than last year, and the information does have to be reviewed. It's not final yet, but the bidder was Robert W. Baird. So I just wanted to provide that good news. I did hear Mr. Klein discuss that we did maintain our bond ratings. We had those rating meetings last week, or the week before. They went very well. And all three rating agencies affirmed our ratings, and that does contribute to receiving a lower interest rate. Okay. The request that I have today related to the budget is that the commissioners provide approval to either move the budget forward to public hearing as presented or modified if that's the determination of the board. We hope to have the public hearing on May 18th at 6 p.m. virtually. The general fund has been modified to reflect the motioned adjustments from the April 20th meeting. These adjustments include a reduction in the income tax rate from 3.2% to 3%, $1 million applied as turnover savings, a reduction of $2.7 million to the capital plan, and the remainder, the excess budgeted in reserves. We were also able to make a couple adjustments that we needed to do related to some body cameras for the sheriff, and we made an adjustment to the trailer tax revenue. Other than that, no other changes have really been made. Are there any questions on the general fund? The attachment that you have does include the adjusted budget and provides explanations for all of the categories. Something to note is the excess was pushed into the reserve. There's about 3.5 million in that account for the board's awareness.
So all we're doing is going to make a motion so that we can get this to public hearing.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
it's not approved, we're just
It's
gonna
not
move forward
approval,
for,
right.
for public input.
Then we can have some more discussion.
Absolutely.
Right before we approve it.
Absolutely. It's nice to get a consensus from the board to move it to public hearing so we can finalize our documents for that day.
One thing,
and-
we also need to let the municipalities know about our budget so they can finalize their budgets, correct?
Absolutely.
Everything we talked about.
I'd motion to move to public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
I'd like to also take a minute just to present some of the capital budget changes for a similar vote, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So obviously for capital, we had a reduction from the general fund. The CIP committee did rebalance the plan with CARE. The methodology of the reductions included looking at the projects that were funded by the general fund, providing a priority to projects that were maybe a match for grant funds, because we didn't want to reduce projects that were matched with, maybe 10% local funds. We didn't want to forego an 80 or 90% grant. So we did not adjust a lot of those projects. After we kind of narrowed down the projects to look at, we did end up adjusting some of the projects that received the budget adjustment that was provided in February. So we did put some money into the capital plan in February. The commissioners did approve that. And so some of those projects may have faced a reduction, but that February adjustment would have offset that reduction. So I do want to make sure you're aware of that. Keep in mind, just for information, 500,000 of the general fund contribution, which is approximately 4 million, is related to speed camera revenue, and it is directly contributing to a patrol relocation services project. What that project does in the plan is it builds that funding up until we have enough to begin that project. So you can see that in the plan, but I did want to make sure you were aware of that. Also, the committee determined that they should reduce bonds based on some comments from the last meeting from 12 million to 10 million. However, in doing so, we have used some reserves in the CIP plan. These are not general fund reserves. They are transfer tax reserves, and they are excise tax for schools and non-residential excise tax that we get. These revenue sources are generally more restricted than the general fund reserves, which can be moved back and forth between the capital fund and the general fund. But I did want to...
So does that mean instead of requesting 12 million in borrowing, you're going to request 10?
Yes, sir, for next year. So some of the projects that we're using the reserves on, we are using for pavement maintenance and rehab, $1 million in transfer tax reserves, $500,000 for Board of Education capital maintenance, another $500,000 in excise tax for schools that we have in reserves, and then $535,000 in excise tax non-residential category for the police, fire, and EMS training facility, the burn building, and some detention center systemic projects. So I just don't want you to be alarmed. That was a change that was made, definitely related to the bond reduction. And we do have those reserves because we received more than we budgeted in past years and also in the current year that we're in due to some large commercial transfers. So we're in a good position to utilize those instead of bonds if that's the board's consensus. I can go over the projects if you like me to. I did hit the high points, and the capital plan adjustments are included in your attachments. What you'll see is the draft 3 versus draft 4. The draft 3, every project has 2 lines. The first line represents what the funding was for the project in draft 3, and then the second line for every project represents draft 4 after the adjustments. Like I said before, a lot of the adjustments for fiscal year 22 were offset by the recent budget adjustment that was provided in February. If you would like me to go through them, I can, or if you've had enough with the attachments and feel confident to move it forward to public hearing, we can do that as well.
I think the motion was to go ahead and already to move it to public hearing.
This is capital here, though, right?
Capital.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did general.
So you want a
Where-
motion for both?
Where does, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Need a vote to move this through the capital improvement project to public hearing along with what we just approved. general
If
fund.
possible, yeah, just for a consensus that there's an understanding of the changes that were made since, you know, they were significant. Yes, sir?
The income from the speed cameras, what's that labeled as?
That is included in the general fund number in total. So you'll see that in general fund, but we know that that 500,000 is related to the speed cameras.
All right.
But it comes over as general fund because that speed camera revenue comes into the general fund and then it's transferred into CIP.
You know, I'm okay moving all this to public hearing because it's, as Commissioner Baker said, once it goes to public hearing, we might have more input. And then we get to discuss all this again before we vote on it, correct?
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Okay, is that a motion?
And a second.
Second. Any further discussion to move it to public hearing CIP? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
That
you.
conclude everything for you? All
That is everything.
right, gentlemen,
Thank you, sir.
Aye, thank you.
I believe that's all on our open agenda. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're in closed session. Please take us off the air.